So what did you lose in the fire and how did you cope and what did you do after the fire to sustain yourself?
We lost everything, and when I say everything, I don't mean it's any different to anybody else losing everything in their house, but we lost a business, a house, and a way of life, and that's the way we look at it, because everything that we did was in the town. The business was in the town, our house was in the town, so therefore your life, your business, and everything you do. In addition to that, we lost the ability to get into the town, we lost the lifestyle in the town, we lost the contact with friends because we were dispersed around the town and some people came back quicker than the others and so on. So that is probably the loss that I can put into a nutshell. We all have our own personal losses of what we lost as far as a structure and our possessions and a business. But that was the most difficult thing, that we lost the whole lifestyle and we had to start from scratch again. So no income, no business, and the two were linked but different because we can go off and get an income but we didn't have the business.
Back to the day of the fire, can you just give me a thumbnail sketch of what happened to you on that day?
Thumbnail sketch for me was knowing it was a code red day or a high fire danger day, as it was, being in the mindset to get prepared for it. So a day is any other day as far as we were opening the restaurant, the town was operating as normally as a tourist town. It was a hot day, as a windy day, but certainly that wasn't different to any other hot, windy, high fire danger day that we had. So no preconceived ideas that anything major was going to happen because of the day, but putting into place those plans of things if there is something going to happen, always getting it ready in case. But in saying that, I wouldn't say I was terribly planned, terribly organised. So for me, it was taking an opportunity in the afternoon to go and do the fire plan that we had, which was packing up the car, securing the house, putting things in place that in case we needed to leave the house if there was an emergency, and then coming back with the full intention to continue on the day and into the evening and run the restaurant as we would normally do on any other Saturday. So putting those plans in place then changed progressively through the afternoon into the early evening for us, that the realisation was that something actually is happening. And without any sort of warning that we had apart from when it was actually happening. So to put in a little capture for myself, I would say something came along very, very quickly and we were not prepared for it. We weren't expecting it, we were getting prepared for it, and then it hit and we had to do the next step of what we were not necessarily planning to do, but the next step of what your instincts tell you to do.
So what lessons would you give people out of your knowledge now? What lessons would you give to people?
We were always told about having fire plans and writing them down, having the box of the things that you take with you, knowing exactly what you're going to do. And it's something that I'm sure a lot of people would go, yeah, okay, we know we need a fire plan, but it's something I could do on the day. I would actually say that it is a great help if you actually did have a specific fire plan. It doesn't have to necessarily be written down, but know exactly what the things you were going to do, what you're going to pick up, what you're going to do, the order of service that you would do that in. I would also say to gain as much information and knowledge as you can, and that's not necessarily within our control. And that was the thing that I will always remember, that we didn't have the information to know what was happening. And that's not necessarily a criticism. Things happen on days like that. Communications go down. There's a lot of bad information out there, or even no information whatsoever. But if we'd had that knowledge and that information, we possibly would have reacted a lot quicker or a lot earlier and made a decision to do what we eventually had to do because of the circumstances.
So in the end, what did you have to do?
So we were back at the house after I'd put the fire plan into an action and had the car packed up. As I said, it was always the plan that we would go back to the restaurant and serve dinner that night, and also serve the DSE that were fighting the forest fires. We would serve their break meals, and but it was when we went back to the house just purely to freshen up, ready to go back to the restaurant, that's when the fire hit. So we realised that we needed to go, and that's how we left the town.
So when you built your property, did you have that in mind?
So we didn't build it to the aspect of thinking, right, how can we build this so it's that I know of so many different properties in town that whether they're weatherboard or complete brick and concrete construction that didn't survive. So as far as I'm concerned, in those sort of fire incidences, there's nothing that you could do. And I wouldn't ever put myself, and I'd never put Barbara through it, and I'm sure she wouldn't, to say, let's stay in the house because we've made the house a little bit more secure this time and we're going to sit this one out.
So you stayed together on the day?
We did, yes. Yep, we were in the car, and yes, and I can't see that we would have actually have taken the decision for me to possibly say, you go, take the car and I'll follow out, or I'll stay and see if I can save the house. It's, again, I had no feeling that I would stay around to try and defend a house. If I can't, if I need to be defending the house in those sort of conditions, it's undefendable in my eyes.
Okay, so what's the future hold?
Future for us is exciting. We're just on the cusp of doing something different. Restaurant is going to be closing down. We're going to take a bit of time to have a holiday, spend some time with family, and in that time we're going to start planning for the new future, the new life that we're going to have, and this will be internationally, possibly France. And really excited about it because I think it's something new and in a new environment and challenges. I was explaining to some friends recently about the challenge of learning a language, the challenge of learning a new lifestyle, and I've done it once already, albeit going to England and then coming from England back to Australia, and all the different challenges with that, and they're minor compared to what we'll have with a totally different country, and that's one of the appeals to me.
Okay, Barbara, how would you sum up the last sort of decade in Marysville?
I suppose very, very interesting, and not what I expected when I arrived in Australia 12 years ago. So I think we always say that 2009 gave me the true Australian experience, and it's just been very different from what we expected. Having said that, it's been an interesting time, an interesting lifestyle.
The day of the fire, what's your take on that and what were you doing at the time?
I remember we had a table with the people in for lunch, but I just remember continue to work. I feel we weren't getting the information. We were looking at the Kilmore fire. We were, just carrying on as though it was another day, and that's what it was. And I don't know, Chris said we took our last booking for dinner at 4 o'clock, so people weren't thinking, we were going to, and an hour later we're all going, well, maybe we should not be doing this. And it was and I remember it was Carol from the post office who came across to me and said, come on Barb, we're all leaving, it's time to go. So at that time Chris was up at the house collecting things. We were just packing up the restaurant, and and the other memory I have is, so it's those little things like that. I don't remember the noise that people refer to. I don't smell fire anymore. If somebody said, oh, there's a fire, I don't smell anything. I remember the burst of adrenaline that caused Chris and I to shout at each other all the way to Buxton. But yeah, generally that's what happened,
Do you remember what you were shouting about?
Oh, just generally, do we need, No, not really. At first it was mind you don't drive into a fire engine, or if there's anybody walking on this road we can't see them. And then it just went on from there, really.
So were you in the police convoy? Or
No, we went just before it.
Yeah.
Just before. It was 20 to 7, though. It was 20 to 7, because that's the time we phoned my parents-in-law, and we did that on the way out. So to say, don't know what you're hearing, don't know what you're seeing, but we're all right and we're on our way out.
So what time would the others have got out?
They were behind us.
What
Don't know exactly. We sort of, as we got to Alex, we saw Christine and Ken Adams from the caravan park, well, from the Scenic Motel, were ahead of us. So we tagged on to them, because at that point we didn't know where we were going or what we were doing. So they said, yeah, this is where we're going. So we went up to Food Works and got some food and just went back to where everybody was assembling. Spent the night on their sports field.